want to say good afternoon because it's still so bright out, but good evening. We're crossing the 6 o'clock mark. I'm Jean McCormick, and I'm the president of the Edward M. Kennedy Institute. I want to welcome you all here for this one of our series in our Getting to the Point series. I recognize some of you were here for our first session on opioid abuse, but we are very grateful that you took the time on such a beautiful day to come out and talk with us about this very important topic. It's part, as I said, of our ongoing series that's focused on bringing together leaders with diverse perspectives to discuss current issues and challenges. The opioid crisis that is affecting so many lives here in Massachusetts and across the nation is most certainly an issue we feel needs to be discussed, and as we were all saying, would be one that Senator Kennedy said, yes, everybody come here, we have to find a solution. This past fall, Governor Baker, Senator Markey, Sheriff Katusian, and Secretary Sudders discussed their bipartisan work on the local, state, and federal levels to pass comprehensive legislation to tackle the issue. That legislation at the federal level and President Obama's actions have been in the press recently, and the work that has been done in our own state legislature. And tonight we're going to be hearing from law enforcement and healthcare experts, as well as local organizations working on the ground to create innovative solutions to the crisis in their own communities, in the places that we all live. We're very honored that Jim Wahlberg of the Wahlberg Youth Foundation is here to speak about the work that his foundation is doing to help curb the impact of the crisis. Jim co-wrote and produced the movie If Only to encourage open dialogue between parents and children about prescription drug misuse and opiate addiction. He's the executive director of the foundation, and he's been working in and around the field of addiction recovery for over 25 years. So Jim, we're very grateful that you're here with us tonight. So please join me in welcoming him now to tell us about the work that his organization is doing.
This is a long way from Dorchester, and we're in Dorchester. Isn't it, Frank? This is crazy, right? So I'm not really here to talk about our organization or what our organization is doing as much as I am here to talk about the problem and what we have done to sort of be part of a solution. We shot the movie that you're going to see in a couple of minutes in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. We shot the movie entirely in Massachusetts, and the town opened their doors to us. We sent the script to the high school and we said, here, this is what we want to do. Can we get you to join forces with us? And we got a call back instantly. We want to be a part of this because that community has been decimated by this problem. You know, every once in a while, people give me a microphone and they let me say stuff, and they let me say whatever I want. And I try not to be controversial. I try to just, we shot this movie. The goal of the movie is to start a conversation between kids, parents, community leaders, doctors, religious folks, anybody and everybody that's dealing with children and dealing with this epidemic. But it does cause me to think about the fact that in the last few years, this problem has gotten huge. And every day we hear the governor talking about opioid addiction. And it makes me think about all the people from my neighborhood that have been dying for years, and there was no outrage. There was no, it was, you know, it just happened. I don't know, maybe it was supposed to happen. It's supposed to happen in the hood. I don't know. But now that this epidemic has reached outside of the city limits and has impacted different communities, there's a lot of noise being made. And I'm grateful for that noise being made. Please have no misunderstandings about that. We need to make noise. We need to address this issue from all fronts. And I know that Massachusetts is way out in front of many, many other states, probably every other state, on dealing with this issue. But I can't get in front of a microphone and talk about this issue without mentioning that. It concerns me. It makes me worried about, it makes me worry about all those people that have passed many years ago that it didn't seem to matter. There was a time in South Boston when there were, suicides weekly, children. And I know for a fact that that was directly related to Oxycontin and the abuse of pain medications that were prescriptions were being written, and people were getting their hands on them any way they could. And so that's all I'm going to say on that. We will talk again after the film, and then I will try not to say anything controversial anymore. Promise. Thank you.
Bitter tears I've wept. It's not for laws I've broken, that bitter tears I've wept, but solemn vows I've spoken and promises unkept. It's not for sins committed, my heart is full of rue, but gentle acts omitted, kind deeds I did not do. I have outlived the blindness, the selfishness of youth, the canker of unkindness, the cruelty of truth, the searing hurt of rudeness. By mercies, great and small, I've come to reckon goodness, the greatest gift of all. Let us be helpful ever to those who are in need, and each new day endeavor to do some gentle deed. For faults beyond our grieving, what kindliness atone, on earth by love achieving a heaven of our own. Isaac?
Yes.
Did you have any thoughts?
On?
Poem I just finished reading?
I liked it. Yeah, I liked it.
You did?
Yeah.
And what about it exactly did you like?
The subtext.
Which was?
Living with regret.
Robert William Service was the poet. We'll be studying him all next week. Everyone grab a book on your way out. Have a good weekend and be safe.
Yo, Isaac.
Hey.
You're coming tonight, right?
I don't know. I haven't asked my mom yet. And I doubt she'll even let me go.
Bro, this is gonna be the biggest party of our lives, okay? You're not missing it.
I know, but what am I supposed to say to her?
I don't know.
Just tell her you're staying at my house. She calls my mom a lie for us.
There you go.
Come on, grow a pair, will ya? You know how I get when I'm wasted. You wouldn't want to miss that, would you?
All right, I'll be there.
My man. And hey, don't forget to bring something, all right?
I don't know if I have anything, and if I do, how do I know it's the good stuff?
Anything with a label that reads may cause drowsiness or don't drink alcohol beverages, all right?
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
I'll pick you up at 8.
Okay.
Isaac, dinner's ready.
I'll be right there.
What's wrong with you? Why are you so quiet?
Can I go over to Corey's later to study?
You want to study on a Friday night?
Yeah, well, we have a big math test coming up. She wanted to know if I could help her study.
You two been spending a lot of time together lately. Is it anything serious?
No, just friends.
Just friends, huh?
Yeah, just friends. She has a thing for Connor, so.
God, okay.
Okay. I can go?
You can go. You gotta be home by 11:30.
12 and you got a deal.
In your dreams.
John! Hey, what's up? Where's Connor?
Oh, he's in the other room. What's up, bud?
I'll be right back.
Yes, thanks.
You made it.
Sorry, man. Told you I would.
Good man.
You have something for us?
What do you got, bro?
Oh, yeah.
Better be the good stuff.
Well, my mom's.
You stole from your mom.
There you go.
Ladies
Man.
first.
Oh, hello. Don't mind if I do? You're up, brother. Get those down. Get those down.
I can go
All right, people. Let's get this party started. Woo!
We won't know who we are. It's just our guilty pleasures. So show me you a rider. Show me this shit is real. Show me there's no lava. Let me see how it feels. Chill, chill, chill. I know you feel it. Nah. Smoke shots. What?
What's up?
What's up,
How you
man?
doing, man?
I think I'm still a little messed up.
That party was epic.
It really was.
Yeah, how's John doing? Is he all right?
Dude, screw him. He's an amateur. Why would you take that many pills if you couldn't handle it? He's lucky to get my ass in trouble for going out like that.
I talked to his sister this morning. He's fine. It wasn't the drugs. John has seizures all the time.
Still say he's an amateur. Look, I'll catch up with you guys later, all right?
You want to skip?
Screw it.
Can't stand that girl. She's such a snob.
Megan? She's like the quietest girl in school. What is that?
My mom and my doctor say they're supposed to help me focus better in school. It's all BS.
So why do you take them?
Because they give me a buzz, and I need a buzz to get through this day. You know that. Here, take one.
What are you two doing here?
It's our study hall.
Isaac, have you got your physical done yet?
No, Coach, I haven't.
What are you waiting on? Basketball season starts in 2 weeks. You can't play unless you get your physical.
Okay, Coach, I'll make sure to tell my mom to schedule me one.
Make sure. I don't want to have to bench my starting point guard. Get to class.
Yes, sir. Let's go.
Hey, Mom.
Hi. Dinner's gonna be ready soon.
I'm starving.
How was school?
It was good. I think I aced my math test.
Oh, that's great. What are you doing?
Hungry.
I just said dinner's gonna be ready. Isaac. Go wash up. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's had a long day. Oh, Coach Glenn says that I need to get a physical in order to join the team, so can you schedule me one, please?
Yeah, I already did. It's tomorrow morning.
Oh, good. Thanks. This is so good.
Thank you.
When can I go to an adult doctor?
When you're an adult.
This is so
What do you have for me? Isaac? How have you been?
pretty good.
Miss Diaz, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Just a routine physical?
Yeah.
All right, well, you'll be in and out of here in no time. You can go inside, take a seat. I'll be right there, okay?
Thanks.
I don't need you to come, Mom.
Okay. Dr. Edwards, can I have a word?
Oh, what is it?
It's Isaac. His behavior lately it's been odd. He's not acting like himself.
Thanks for the ride, Corey.
What are you doing tonight?
Nothing planned.
Call me if you want to hang out.
Hey, do you have any more of those pills you gave me the other day?
Always. That's good.
Perfect, fine. Thank you, I'll call you.
See ya.
Hello?
Miss Diaz? It's Dr. Edwards. How are you?
I'm a nervous wreck.
I'm looking at Isaac's test results. I have bad news. Isaac tested positive for opiates and marijuana.
Okay. Are you sure? Because I heard those tests can come back inaccurate at times.
I'm afraid not, Miss Diaz. We use the best lab in the country. If we need Miss Diaz, we can assist you with resources to help Isaac find the help he needs before it progresses. And in my experience, it usually always progresses.
I would like that, thank you.
Okay, I'll have Laura send over some information ASAP. Okay?
Okay, doctor, thank you.
Hi. What's wrong? Mom, what's wrong?
I had Dr. Edwards drug test you.
You what?
Yeah. And your test results came back positive.
You know that's a mistake, Mom.
How long? How long you been doing them? How long? I said how long? How long, Isaac? I said how long? What did I do wrong?
Don't say that, Mom.
What did I do wrong?
You didn't do anything.
I must have done something wrong, Isaac. I tried so hard. I tried so hard with you. Oh my God, I'm so scared. I don't recognize you. Where did you get them? Where did you get them? Please talk to me. Are Connor and Corey doing them too? Is that what's going on? Are your friends doing them too? This is a nice place. Huh? Everything's gonna be okay.
Why are you doing this to me? I'm not an addict. It was one time.
You could have died, Isaac. I'm not gonna let that happen to you.
Stop being dramatic, Mom.
Isaac, are you ready?
I love you.
Love you too, Mom.
Love you.
Robert William Service was a British-Canadian poet and writer. He was often called the Bard of the Yukon. He's best known for his poem, The Shooting of Dan McGrath, which we will be reviewing today in class. Please open up your books to page 70.
All right, so as everybody can see, we have a new addition today. This is Isaac. I want you guys to, why don't we go around and everybody can introduce themselves and,
I'm June. I started drinking when I was about 12, 13. Just a wrong group of friends.
My name's Adam. I started drinking about 2 years ago. I'm 18 now. And,
Coke for me. Just older brother friends had it. Did it. Now I'm just angry without it.
I said I could be a model. I just need
Yeah, I'm Mark.
an alcoholic. It's about my 4th time being in detox.
I was 14. I saw how my mom acted after she took her medication, and I wanted to see what it was like.
My name's Sarah, and I began to have an alcohol problem when I was 10.
Listen, I just really want to thank you guys for your honesty in making Isaac feel welcome. You guys got about an hour before your next group, so go take a break. Hold on, Isaac. How you feeling?
Like I don't belong here and this is a waste of time?
Maybe. But maybe you do.
And you heard their stories. I went to a party once and got high. Big deal. Who doesn't do that my age?
A lot of people. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It's a bunch of dead trees.
Actually, they're not dead. They're very much alive. They're what's known as deciduous trees. They shed their leaves. It's like a defense mechanism against harsh conditions. They have these broad, thin leaves that are, really susceptible to damage. So they just let them go. But when conditions improve, they come back, healthier and stronger than before. Not much different than you.
What?
I'll see you in an hour.
Hi, can I help you?
Hi, I'm Karina Diaz, Isaac's mother. I was just hoping you had a second.
Oh, actually, I don't. I have dinner plans soon, so.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Well, it'll only take a second. It's actually about Connor.
You said you were Isaac's mother, right?
That's right.
Oh, God, what a shame. My Connor told me all about you having to put your boy in a rehab. At least there he won't be able to influence other kids to do drugs. Actually, I told my son he can't hang around with yours any longer. I'm sorry.
How dare you?
How dare I?
I came here to let you know your son is also doing drugs, and as a concerned parent, I just thought you should know.
No, you listen to me. Don't you come around here trying to point the finger at other people. Honey, just because your son is a screw-up, God, it doesn't mean that mine is.
I'm not pointing my finger at anyone. I'm handling my son and our issues. But I wanted to talk to you mother to mother so we could see what's going on with our kids.
Excuse me. You know nothing of my son. I'd appreciate if you'd leave now. Miss Diaz, have a good day. I really hope you find a way how to handle that boy. Bye.
What was that?
Nobody. You ready to go? Because I am starving.
You tell him to leave.
Okay.
Connor!
Honey, come on, he's never gonna hear you. He probably has his headphones on, so let's go. Time to go.
Yeah, but dude, I'm the illest point guard you'll ever see.
Guys? Really?
Yeah. Think I'm good? My boy Connor will break your ankles, pal. Nah. Yeah.
Hey.
What's up, pal?
What's up, buddy? It's nice to see you smiling. How you feeling?
A little cold, but I'll live.
Better? Yeah? Listen, don't take this personally, okay? But I do not want to see you back here. You understand me? Huh?
You and me both.
Excuse me, Bob. I need Isaac to come with me for a minute.
Sure, but why?
You have a visitor.
Oh.
Dave, make sure you finish that.
Mom? What happened? What happened? What's wrong? What's wrong? Mom, what's wrong?
Honey, Connor was found dead yesterday.
What?
I'm so sorry.
What? What do you mean?
He overdosed, and his mom found him in his room. I'm so sorry. Connor's gone. He's gone, sweetheart. I'm so sorry.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all. In the waters of baptism, Connor died with Christ and rose with him to new life. May he now share with him eternal glory. Now invite Isaac to come up and share some thoughts with us.
Connor was my classmate, my best friend. It was Connor who, on my very first day of school, convinced me to try out for the basketball team. He said I needed to put my lanky arms to good use. You know, a lot of times when we're young, we think we're invincible. We're not.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming, buddy.
Miss Diaz, thank you both so much for coming to see us. We're so sorry for your loss. Take good care of this boy. Our lives are so fragile and precious. We as parents, we need to do everything, that we can for.
If there's anything we can do, please don't hesitate to ask.
That day, I should have listened to you. That day you came by, I should have listened. But instead, I went to dinner. While my son was alone dying in his room. only. I'm sorry. Thank you guys for coming. Take care of it.
If only I knew that all your words were true, that everything would be alright, my heart would find it to the light. If only I knew to put aside my pride, that I had let the Lord decide, held his hand and watched him guide. If only left with this painful emptiness, I fell on my knees to confess. Everything good lost in darkness, I failed to realize that I was blessed. So I wait for that day when I can say that I'm sorry. If only I knew that all your words were true, that everything would be alright, my heart would find it to the light. If only I knew to put aside my pride, that I had let the Lord decide, held his hand and watched him guide. If only now fades and dies away. I struggle to find the words to say. All the promises I failed to keep, I try to trust that heaven's at your feet. So I wait that day when I can say that I'm sorry. If only I knew that all your words were true, that everything would be alright, my heart would find it to the light. If only I knew to put aside my pride, that I had let the Lord decide, I held his hand and watched him guide. If only
will I see you again? All day long I'm thinking of you. So crazy I ain't sleeping, begging and pleading. I was wrong. I'll take all the blame for this. Feelings never played a part. He meant nothing of me swayed my precarious heart. Love can be so blind. Love can be so
So I guess I won't wait for them to stop. We can talk over this. So I've seen this movie, I don't know, probably 150 times. So as I was saying, I've seen this movie probably 150 times at screenings and throughout the process of making the movie. And it's amazing how there's some parts in the movie that affect me as much as the first time I saw it. And not just the obvious, you know, the tribute to the families that were involved in making the movie at the end. But, you know, throughout the movie, when the mother discovers that her son is on drugs and she instantly wants to know what did she do wrong, and she wants to blame herself. I've had that experience, and it's a very difficult experience to have. And when the mother drops her son off to rehab, when we shot that scene, that actress, her name is Juliana Hakavi, and she's been in a lot of stuff, and she's a very experienced actress. When we shot that scene, we put the camera on her face and we just left it there. And we were all behind the camera, and I looked around me and people were crying. And she just, I don't know, she's someone that's also very familiar with the disease of addiction, and she was a wonderful person to work with. Some of the small details about the movie: the main character, Isaac, is played by my son, Jeffrey. My mom is in the movie. My brother, Bob, is in the movie. He plays the therapist in the rehab. My nephew, Brandon, is in the movie. And the reason that is that my family is very familiar with addiction. And I think it's always important for me to say that I am a recovering person, and that treatment works, and that this is the work of many recovering people. And there were a lot of people that I met in the process of making the movie. You know, when you're working, you kind of lose focus, I think. I certainly did. I lost focus on the big picture, what we were there for, what brought us together, what the movie was about, and I was just making a movie, you know, and I had people that I needed to do certain things and be in certain places, and I got distracted, and then we were shooting a funeral scene, and we had sent out word through some friends that we were looking for families that had lost loved ones to be involved in the making of the movie. We thought it was important. And my dear friend, Louise Griffin, from a program called GRASP, reached out to some people, and she called me and she said, I got 400 people that want to come that lost their loved ones. Can you handle 400 people? And I was in shock. Well, you have 400 people who have lost their children to overdoses? And she said, yeah. And on the day we shot that scene, as you can see, that was real snow. We got about 10 feet of snow up here last year. That was the first big storm. And people got in their cars from all over the state. 250 people showed up. That tribute at the end, it could have went on for days. And I tried to make it a point to meet each and every family. And was at a screening last night in New Hampshire, and there's a woman who's in the movie at the end holding a picture of her son, and I met her the day we were shooting, and I have been telling the story of meeting her at every screening, but I never really connected her name. We didn't have that kind of a conversation. She was in great emotional pain when we talked. Her son had died just 1 month before. She came down on Christmas morning and found her son overdosed. And she was with us last night sharing that story with about 500 people. Before the movie started, I talked about the governor and the state of Massachusetts and where we are and how we are, I think, a lot further along than many other states, if not every other state, on trying to fight this battle. And, I think so much of the credit, every time I see the governor on TV talking about the opioid addiction problem, around him I see the families who have lost children. And these people who I've met through this process are they're just the most unbelievably strong, dedicated, motivated, almost possessed kind of people that are they're out there fighting for us so that we don't have to have that experience, right? We showed the movie up at the State House. We showed it in the reps lounge to a ton of reps and their staff, and I brought a little girl with me who I met just a couple of days before at a screening at the Jordan's Furniture IMAX theater, and afterwards we had a Q&A, and she stood up and Mr. Wahlberg, can I ask you a question? And I said, sure. And she said, can I get you to bring this movie to my school? Because I hear kids having good time conversations about getting high all the time. And she was about this big. And I said, honey, how old are you? And she was 12. She was in the 7th grade, and she went to school in Tewksbury. And so I said to her, if you talk to your principal, talk to your guidance counselor, talk to your parents, whoever you got to talk to, if they'll have us, we'll come. And we went, and she started this whole sort of campaign in her school on her own. And I've met people like this throughout this process, people that are fighting the good fight. I'm a parent. I have no idea how these people get out of bed in the morning, but they do. And they do it so that other families don't have to suffer that pain. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to introduce you to a parent who has had this horrific experience, and she's going to share her story with you.
Thank you, Jim. And a special thanks to Celia Richa and Devin Follett for reaching out to me to participate in tonight's event. I'm honored to be here to talk about this important public health issue. I've probably seen the If Only film, not as many times as Jim, but at least a half dozen times. And it never fails to get me right here. Those songs at the end, and the pictures, they're just heart-wrenching. I can relate to what Isaac's mother is feeling in the film because I lived it. I remember noticing changes in my son, Ryan, when he was in middle school. At first, I attributed it to puberty. The talking back to me, oversleeping, and the moodiness. He was 15 years old when I found empty nip bottles in my piano bench after he had a sleepover with a friend. His friend had stolen them from his grandparents. It wasn't long before Ryan came home smelling like pot. I thought, okay, kids experiment. He was my middle child. I'd already gone through similar experiences with his older sister, and she was fine. He'll outgrow it, I thought. Well, he did outgrow it, but he eventually grew into trying mushrooms, cocaine, then opiates, mostly Percocets, and finally to injecting heroin. It's bad enough when you discover your child is using drugs, any drug. But when you find needles in his room, your heart stops. It's like a slap in the face. Ryan became addicted, and I later learned that it was a rapid progression from painkillers to heroin, less than a year. And the changes in Ryan's personality and character happened just as quickly. He got to the point where he became a person that no one in our family recognized. He lost his spark. That fun-loving, witty kid that always had a comeback remark to make you laugh, and a classic impish smile was gone. Instead, he was losing weight, he was easily agitated, and had a deadpan, distant look in his eyes. Ryan was 21 years old when he died of a heroin overdose 4 years ago. To this day, it's still hard for me to say those words. All the telltale signs became apparent once Ryan started using opiates. Schoolwork suffered, he barely graduated. He was losing jobs because he was oversleeping and calling in sick. And he started stealing and pawning anything of value in our house that he could sell for heroin. Our family did everything possible to help Ryan before we knew he was using heroin. I always talked to my kids about drug and alcohol abuse because there was a history of addictive behavior on both sides of the family. I made a point of knowing his friends and their parents, all good families. Ryan went to drug counseling. Our pediatrician got involved and talked to Ryan, and he went to detox twice. Ryan had attention deficit disorder, anxiety, low self-esteem, and family history all working against him. I would watch that show Intervention and think to myself, that's not Ryan. He's not like the people on that show, but he was. He just didn't look the part. I'm here tonight to tell you that I was uneducated, naive, and probably at times in denial. My spoons were disappearing. I would find corners of plastic sandwich bags and Q-tips with the cotton part missing, but I didn't know what it all meant at the time. It wasn't until I found a needle in my son's room that I realized what was happening. I didn't know where to turn for help. I was afraid of my son being judged and of being judged as a bad parent. The stigma is slowly starting to lift since the epidemic has become national news. Law enforcement and health professionals are becoming more sensitive to the fact that opiate addiction is a disease, and that people with a substance abuse problem need compassion and recovery services. We need to advocate in our community for more education for parents about the signs of drug use and drug paraphernalia, and for early childhood education about what opiates are and how easy it is to get addicted to them. It's never too early to start teaching kids about the dangers of these drugs. I have a 4-year-old grandson, and he knows that Uncle Ryan died because he took too many drugs. He might not know what drugs are now, but once he does, I hope it will prevent him from using someday. It's too late for my son and for people at the end of the film. But there are so many more people, and they are people, not junkies or losers, that are suffering with this disease and deserve the chance to get their lives back. In the end, it should be all about saving lives, no matter what it takes. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula, for sharing a powerful movie and an important message. And what we want to do now is have our panelists for the evening come up and talk about their experience. Happy to introduce Leonard Campanello. He's been leading the efforts as Gloucester Chief of Police to combat the opioid crisis in his community. Last year, he launched the Angel Initiative that allows addicts to enter police stations with drugs without facing criminal charges so they can be led to a drug treatment program. Last month, the White House honored him as a champion for change for his innovative work in reaching out to people struggling with drug addiction. And he's now working to help launch similar programs across the U.S. We're very fortunate to have him in our state. And Dr. Myechia Minter-Jordan, the president and CEO of the Dimock Health Center in Boston. It's Boston's second largest center serving Roxbury, Mattapan, Dorchester, and the Jamaica Plain neighborhoods. The Dimock Center is considered a model for comprehensive health and human services, and Dr. Jordan and her staff have been on the ground dealing directly with the effects the opioid epidemic has had on her community. Thank you both for being here with us tonight. If you'd come up, and it's my honor to welcome our moderator for this discussion, Todd Feathers from the Lowell Sun. He's been covering the opioid epidemic at the local level for the past 2 years. He's an award-winning reporter, and we're delighted to have him be able to guide us in this conversation. Thank you all.
All right, well, thank you to the Institute, everybody who came out tonight, Dr. Minter-Jordan, Chief Campanello. I guess I was hoping to start off, if you could both just explain some of the changes that your organizations have gone through over the past year. I understand there have been some significant ones for both of you.
Did you want to begin?
Go right ahead.
Well, again, thank you for having me here. This is obviously a critical discussion. And what I would say, I've been the president and CEO of the Dimock Center for the last 3 years. And in that 3 years, we all know how much this epidemic has taken a strong hold, not only in Massachusetts, but across the country. So because of that, we've had to step up the way that we think about treatment and how much we need to provide better access to treatment across the continuum of services at our community health center. And I would say even prior to that, in response to our community's need, and you heard our catchment areas, primarily Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and those communities are primarily Black and brown communities. We've added programs and services to better respond not only to the substance abuse issues in the community, but also to the mental health that is very often intertwined with substance abuse and with addiction. So we have 4 residential programs on our campus. We have an inpatient detox. We have outpatient addiction services and outpatient mental health. And the expansion of those programs over time has really been in response to community need. In the last year, we were able to complete a $16 million capital campaign to renovate our detox and add additional beds. We currently see 3,000 clients a year. We'll move to 4,000 clients a year. And I would love to tell you that we shouldn't do that, we don't need to do that, but clearly there's a need that we need to meet. And at the same time, we need to work on prevention, educating our own providers in our health center, in our dental clinic. Every specialty within our community health center is undergoing education to be able to better understand how to prescribe pain medications. And we were saying in the green room not too long ago that physicians, and that when I was in training, I remember this, the pain scale was introduced. We weren't assessing enough pain in our patients. And there was a big influx of pharmaceutical education around how to prescribe pain medications. Prior to that time, OxyContin was only used for cancer patients in hospice situations. And it became a different animal over time throughout that. And that's not the only reason why the medical profession has to share some of the blame regarding this epidemic, but that's one of the pieces that we've seen, and now we have to change that. We have to change the education, integrate substance abuse and behavioral health into our clinic, and work on reducing the stigma across communities. So that's a bit of how we've responded in the last few years.
Well, in Gloucester, Massachusetts, we were having the same issues that every other community was having, certainly across the Commonwealth and across the nation. And we were watching a generation kind of be forgotten, or watch them cycle in and out of the criminal justice system with no real reason behind it. You know, we had a group of people, a demographic that wasn't being helped, and we got really fed up about it and decided that, you know, very simply, I mean, the program has grown quite a bit, but very simply is what it was introduced as is that if you present to the Gloucester Police Department with or without drugs and ask for help, we're going to do everything we can to get you into treatment without fear of arrest, solicitation of information. We removed the word junkie from our vernacular. We don't use that word or any stereotypes anymore. And I'm always ashamed to be at these things, and I'll tell you why. Law enforcement was very late to this game. We spent a lot of time shaming and blaming. And so to the families that are in here that we treated with less dignity, respect, or professionalism, or most importantly, compassion, on behalf of the law enforcement community that I'm a part of, I'd like to apologize, because we were very late to the game. And it's much easier for people, I think, to fear and use shame and blame as opposed to use compassion and use their ability to accept. And in law enforcement, this is no achievement. This is a responsibility. And we failed. So we're happy to be here now, and we're happy that the message that in Gloucester has sort of mushroomed, and we feel very responsible for it, but we don't think it's an achievement. We're sad about the people that we didn't help before. But the program goes on. We have 250 treatment centers that we partner with across the country that provide scholarships for people that can't afford or don't have the proper insurance. About $60 million worth of scholarships. We have 110 police departments in about 28 states now, and there's probably over 100 that are just waiting for us to type up their release through our national nonprofit PARI, which is the Police Assisted Addiction Recovery Initiative. And we continue to do what we can do in law enforcement, which I think more importantly than the concrete things we've seen, which is a reduction in fatal overdoses in Gloucester, a reduction in crime associated with addiction, a reduction in costs associated with incarcerating someone as opposed to helping them. I think far more important for us is that we seem to be a loud voice in destigmatizing this disease. And that's what it is. It's a disease. Obviously, everyone in this room knows that. And so, you know, whatever voice we can add to that destigmatization, I think it's our responsibility to do so. And apparently a lot of other people believe the same thing in law enforcement, because we are starting to see a trend. And hopefully soon we'll be able to announce that the national model for law enforcement is to treat before arrest, or to facilitate treatment before arrest. And we travel down to New York tomorrow to see if we can get that message out there.
So Chief, the last time I heard you talk, which was some months ago, I believe you'd said that somewhere around 400 people had gone through the Angel program. Is that
so the Angel program we have in Gloucester, we have about 450 now that have gone through. What's been peculiar about it is that when we first started, we were this is a very heavy topic for everybody. And so if I usually express with some type of off-putting humor, so forgive me. We were the only people in the Commonwealth that were doing this, so we were getting everyone. The joke before we started was, you're not going to get anybody because no one's going to trust you. It's like it's sending out 1,000 postcards to people with arrest warrants and offering them a free boat, and then when they get there, we lock them up because our message was so different. Come to the police station and we'll help. But word of mouth spread, and then within the first few weeks, we were getting 20 people, 30 people a week, and we were really rolling. And when the program started taking off in other parts of the state, our numbers declined, which was great because we know that people were going to their closest police department. And actually, we saw Gloucester residents who didn't come to us go to other police departments because of that stigma. So we were both helping other residents who were coming in and residents from Gloucester who didn't feel comfortable enough coming to us to go to others. So we're at 450. Our partner organizations are well over 1,100 now, I think. And Scarborough, Maine is, I just have to mention this as an example. So the governor up there is my role model. I mean, if you've ever heard the governor speak about how, that Narcan should be taken off the streets, and that all the drug dealers come from out of his state and come in and sell drugs and impregnate women and then leave. And he's a maniac, and he shouldn't be allowed in public office ever again. But his police departments are telling him, no, we have to start seeing this as for what it is, a public health crisis. In Scarborough, Maine, the state of Maine has 16 detox beds, the whole state, 16 beds in the whole state. Scarborough, Maine just placed their 150th person in treatment instead of arrest or incarceration through partnership with Parry and the Gloucester Initiative and in-kind scholarships and things like that. So if a police department in Maine with that much political backlash and that few resources can do it, then anybody can. And it's a great tribute to them.
As that program spreads, as awareness spreads, does Massachusetts, New England have the infrastructure to handle this number of people seeking treatment and the infrastructure to manage them from one treatment program to the next? Because it's not like you go to one place and you're done. Doctor?
No, I don't think we do. I think the doctor would agree, man. And Dimock is awesome, by the way, because we call them, one of the first places we called, and they've always been so good about working with us. I think the doctor can probably speak much more on this than I can, but I think she will agree that, we don't have the capacity to put everyone into a treatment bed on day one. But we're viewing this as either you get a treatment bed or you get nothing. And we're going to just, go call next week. And there's so many different avenues between inpatient intensive detox treatment bed and nothing that we have to start looking at that. And I'll defer to the doctor on that.
You're right. There clearly are not enough beds to meet the need, but also for the beds that we do have, trying to navigate the system to get to them is also really difficult because not every detox is at capacity. It's also a matter of difficulty with navigating the system. We can all have our own experience of trying to navigate the healthcare system when you're not under the influence. Imagine when you are, how much more difficult that is. But there are not enough beds, but I agree with you. There's a continuum of services that we don't often tap into, often starting with mental health services, getting someone in to see a clinician to understand what the issues are that are influencing their addictive behavior. Having primary care step up and take on more of a role in terms of providing therapy and support and working on getting into outpatient programs. So there are many choices along that continuum that we can tap into that we often don't think about. It doesn't begin with a detox bed, and it certainly doesn't end there. And we also have to think about what happens after detox, because often people go right back to where they came from, and those influences are still there. So a detox is not enough. You really do need the full continuum at multiple points along the road to recovery, as we call it.
So you mentioned dealing with people with co-occurring conditions, mental health issues, and substance abuse. Mm-hmm. Could you both just speak a little bit to how you manage the gray areas? People who have a co-occurring condition, people who may be dealing drugs to fund their habit.
Well, I'll speak a little bit. I think, again, this is a question for the doctor, obviously. You know, I think that if you're dealing to support your habit, habit is a very bad word to use in that. If you're dealing to support your addiction, your disease, I don't consider you a drug dealer. I think that you're an addicted person who was finding the last resort of the disease taking over. You know, you've pawned everything, or you've done everything you could, and you have to feed the disease. There's no choice. So you turn to dealing to support your own addiction. So from our standpoint, you know, we're looking for people, those insidious people that will wait outside of rehab centers and offer free bags of heroin to people. We'll offer free bag Sunday. You know, you call me up today. We'll front you 100 bags of heroin just to keep you addicted, and not using the opioid themselves, but using it to make a big profit for themselves, and not even caring about the misery that they're spreading.
Also, to answer that question, part of what I'm most appreciative of regarding our model is that it's fully integrated. So when you're in any of our programs, not only are you getting addiction treatment, but we also have mental health clinicians that are trained in addiction in the program. So we're not just having addiction medicine counselors or physicians treating our patients and clients. They're also interacting with mental health clinicians at every step of the way, whether or not that's in our primary care clinic, within our detox, or within any of our residential programs. And it's critical to have that. You can't have a model where you only focus on the addiction. You have to focus on what are the underlying issues. Most people who have an addiction have dual diagnoses. They also have a mental health disorder, whether or not that's depression or any other ADHD, the full spectrum of things that can influence and create the potential for addiction to happen. So we have to address that and be holistic in the way that we think about this. And often we hear these discussions of mental health folks saying, well, why is there such a focus on addiction? Or addiction folks saying we need more focus on addiction, but it's really both. And we need to be working together along those lines to be comprehensive in the way that we address this issue. And then in terms of socioeconomic factors, we can work on the addiction with folks, but they also need to figure out how do they get back in their education. So we have a GED program on our campus. How do they get a job? How do they get back into the work life? How do you do resume writing, job preparedness? So that's part and parcel to our residential programs, is providing those other trainings that are critical to helping someone stay on the road to recovery. If you are on the path to recovery and you go out and you don't work and you're sitting at home, the chances that you will be a victim again of the disease are high. So we want to make sure that people have a path out. It's not always easy, but that's what we work on with our clients and families.
I think we'll take an audience question now. Raise your hand.
How are you, Doctor? Just curious, the 3,000 people that you, my name is Frank Baker, I live in the neighborhood. I'm a city councilor.
Yes.
I represent this area, I represent the methadone mile, work on this issue every day. Those 3,000 people that you treat every year, how many of those are repeat customers? So like, how many actual people can we call, like that 3,000 beds, how many people are being served there?
Sure. So the recidivism rate is anywhere between 30 and 40%. It's high. 30 to 40% of folks come back again. And you've heard in the movie that we saw, and I think we all know folks that have gone through multiple tours within a detox. And so we're trying to be innovative in thinking about how do we create less of that. And part of it is introducing recovery coaches to help people navigate the rest of that pathway and to keep them on that pathway. That's something that the state has begun to fund, and we're looking for additional funds to be able to do that and hire more. But we're trying to address that issue as well, because you're right. If 3,000 clients, but if 30 to 40% of them are coming back, they are taking beds from others that are newly addicted, and we want everyone to be free and clear of this disease. But it takes more innovation and more support and resources to be able to do that effectively.
Hi, Dr. Minter-Jordan. My name is and thank you for really being responsible and sensitive to life. So I think the film was really great. You did this, but there was so that hurts. And so cheap. So right now, Massachusetts, when it comes to this crisis, as far as the creation of the prescription drugs and the street drugs and our demographic, really struggling on a lot of fronts. Is the documentary Her, USA, that's on HBO, that was really enlightening as to how many of these children are addicted and are dying, don't have much hope. I don't know what we're doing specific aside from post-hearing. Some really critical areas that are affected one of us. But then, where I am affected by anxiety system has been dealing with chronic for years, over a decade, and I just started, she's not young, she's 55, and I just started going appointments with her last year because I just had breakthroughs. My body was still in pain, I was not managed, I was still on opiates, and I did feel like the doctor was really because he mentioned addiction and now we're in this opiate crisis and things that are kind of out here, but I didn't even know that he was speaking to her. And so I had to ask the question. And he's addicted. He wasn't, he never said that. And then he changed the language to dependent. Okay, I can better see that, but is there a difference between dependency and addiction? And so I'm having to feel back the layers when it's nice if you could just deliver the information. And so with that, now she is reduced of her medication, no more pain management, but next thing you know, she goes to get her prescription, there are less pills. So I haven't seen where I know it's
Actually, fake doors.
but do you know what the whole medical community is doing to address this issue for people that aren't coming into it the way that we've seen in the film and sort of more traditional ways, but for people that, you know, have had real need and so we've gone this whole opiate because, you know, the med's strong, but where it doesn't work, I haven't seen where there are other avenues to help people that are in need so that they don't turn to the street drugs and they're not in this cycle the same sort of way.
That's an excellent point and a really hard one. You know, as a physician, I see a lot of patients who have chronic pain, and part of it is balancing expectations. And I want you to sort of take this with the spirit in which I'm saying it, in that America or the society has gotten to this place where we should feel no pain. And the reality in many cases is that you will feel pain. And the expectation that pain will completely be obliterated is a hard one for a physician to manage. You want to help the person that you're with. That's what we've been trained to do. But sometimes there has to be a conversation about what are the realistic expectations. There will be good days, there will be bad days. And the other piece of that is that we have to embrace non-traditional treatment, mindfulness, acupuncture. There are so many things that the general medical society hasn't embraced as much as we should, and we really need to, because it's not all about pain pills. It's not all about completely relieving the pain. It's also about teaching patients how to deal with some level of pain. Exercise, weight loss, there's so many pieces that are harder to do, but we're in this society where everything is quick fix, rapid response, and that's not always what will get us to the right end. And so that's a really tough discussion, and it's a long discussion, and we're in this situation now where we have 15 minutes to address an issue with a patient. So trying to create a team that's also enabled and empowered to have those discussions with patients is also important. But it's not easy. Chronic pain is a really tough one.
So I'll tell you that, like, I always get in trouble when someone alludes to pharmaceuticals or someone alludes to the number of pain pills that are out there. So from the standpoint of law enforcement, I'll cut straight to the chase and say that 80% of the people, as measured by the ONDCP, 80% of the people that we see come to us addicted to heroin by starting on a legally prescribed pain medication, okay? And here I go. So here's, for the Edward M. Kennedy Institute, here's your quote for tomorrow. Pharmaceuticals are killing far more Americans every year than any terrorist group in the world. And they're doing it. And they're doing it on the backs of a generation that's never going to have a chance. And physicians are not to blame in this. When we talk to physicians, they're almost desperate. If this was a simple matter of pharmaceuticals shoving money into the hands of politicians, this would be over. This crisis would be over. They have insinuated themselves into every part of the healthcare management system from our standpoint in law enforcement. Doctors are measured, and from what we hear, from when we talk to physicians, doctors are measured in the way they can manage pain. What's the first question the doctor asks you, whether you're there for a referral or whether you're there for a headache or anything? How much pain are you in? Go find the scale on my office wall from the happy face to the sad face. If that doctor is not doing a good job managing your pain, like any other profession, they're judged based on that. And they tell us, look, I got to feed a family, I got to do this, I got to do that. And they're right. They're human beings like the rest of us. They know their responsibility. They want to be regulated. They tell us, regulate us, pass laws so we don't have to manage pain. It's insinuated throughout the system that pain is the number one thing. Country is 5% of the world's population. We consume 85% of the medication in the world, of pain medication. We're not in that much pain. We're not in that much pain. Pain, and don't get me wrong, pain medication has a place, definitely has a place. But at some point, we have to look beyond it. For the sake of everybody who's lost a child or a family member in this, we have to look beyond that. And pharmaceuticals are the only ones in this crisis, from our perspective, again, in law enforcement, who have come to the table, paid lip service, and walked away without doing anything. Oh, I'm sorry. The big thing they did was they told you where all the medication disposal units were in Massachusetts. Not that that wasn't already done by the district attorneys 5 years ago, but thanks for that. So I have a real hardened spot in my soul for people who hide behind attorneys at the expense of other people's lives.
We had one more question. I think we have time for another one.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you, Doctor. Gary Langis from Rocky Neck in Gloucester.
Hi, Gary.
Chief.
He's a plant.
Yeah, he's a plant. I was one of the cautiously optimistic ones that when you announced the program last year, and you proved me wrong really fast. So, now I'm more optimistic about it. And I've referred folks to the program, and I really, I'm glad it's happening in Gloucester. And right now we're fighting to get $5 million restored into our substance use disorder bill up in the State House, and our Senate's voting on it this week. We seem to have to do this all the time. This is for prevention, treatment, and recovery. And I applaud you, Doctor, for the Dimock, the detox, the program, the campus over there, wonderful. But we have a lot of public injection going on, and like the Chief knows, we have people that overdose in automobiles. We have people that overdose in the injection facilities like McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. And it's engaging this population, it's really difficult. Engaging pre-contemplative stage folks, people that are in the cars, they're not ready for treatment. They're not ready to go to a detox. And I think we need to do a better job on engaging that population of drug users, because they're left mostly out in the cold. We have to get them in out of the rain, give them a warm cup of coffee, and maybe talk about stuff that leads to treatment readiness. Do you have any suggestions on that, doctor? Like what we could do to engage the using population, not people that are knocking and calling to get into treatment, but the population that's left out in the streets. And you see them, like the doctor sees them down on Albany Street, Mass Ave. I really refrain from calling it methadone mile, but you know, I was down there the other day, and we need help out there. So, Doc, that's for you.
That's a tough one. I think the thing that comes to mind as you were speaking is around the stigma. Because people don't feel like they don't feel like they're a person anymore. They don't feel like they're worthy of even engaging in the conversation around their addiction. So the fact that we are now working on the State Without Stigma campaign with the governor, all those things matter and count and help. Because if we can't even have a conversation and we can't even talk to an addict because we think that they're a bad person, then those conversations will never happen. So I think the stigma is a big part of that. Certainly there's the outreach, and I know many organizations do outreach. Healthcare for the Homeless does that, where they have folks that go out to the streets to try to bring people into care. But a lot of it is educating families so that they're not turning their back on their loved ones. And it's hard. My sister has struggled with addiction. And it's hard when someone is in your house and stealing things from you, and it's really hard to see them as a person that you want to continue to love and embrace. But it's also being taught that this is a disease and not thinking of it as they're this bad person. Why are they doing this to my family? They're suffering. And what are the options for care? Let's have a discussion about it. That's the first step in that I can tell you, but it's not easy because there are folks that, to your point, are not ready for those conversations, but they also feel like there's no place for them to have them.
So very, very quickly, how do we engage the people around the person struggling with addiction, whether it's family, friends?
You know, Gary alluded to that $5 million. Those fund programs like Learn to Cope. Learn to Cope is one of the many programs out there that deals specifically with family members of those who are suffering from this disease. And they do, every time I go to one of their meetings, I'm just blown away by how well they're doing at educating and supporting those who have loved ones who are struggling with this disease. If that $5 million gets cut, you know, bye-bye to half the chapters. And it may not seem like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, but it's so vital to have these programs. And another way I think we can engage is in trust building, especially in law enforcement. We've built a bridge to those who are in real need, and that's a start. We need to continue to do that with those who are in that stage of user. We need to build a good prevention model. Show me one. I'll put it in Gloucester tomorrow. I haven't seen one. Dare, disaster. Choose to refuse, forget it. Just say no. Just say no to cancer or diabetes. It's the same thing. You can't do it. So let's look at prevention models as well and get really good ones. And listen to the addiction recovery community and the people who have been through this. Why are we not listening to them?
I think that's a pretty good note to end on. Do we have time for one more? Okay.
You're my hero. Oh, you're totally my hero. We utilized your program last summer, and my son and I drove there. So he had a very colorful past, and we've been dealing with this addiction for 17 years. So to walk through your door and to be welcome was a huge thing for him, and it was a step to his recovery, like I believe it. The second step to his recovery, because it didn't work that round, right, was the Office of PATHs in Boston. PATHs is between Gloucester, your program, and the PATHs office in the city that the city of Boston runs is just, it's beyond the pale of fantastic for people in addiction. People keep talking about there's no beds, right? There's no follow through. So you get kicked out of the detox. You might be lucky if you find a bed in a CSS or a TSS, right? So you're kicked to the street. But a Gloucester program or a PATHs program allows these people to go back the next day and be safe, right? We don't offer that anywhere in the state. I am from Cape Cod, and we are that movie, Heroin on Cape Cod, where we're all dying, right? We have the #1, that's our claim to fame right now. We've got the highest rate of death on Cape Cod. I met with the commissioner of the Department of Department of Public Health with one of the state reps to find out how can we get a pass office on Cape Cod. There's no desire in this state because we don't have providers. It's about private money. So, like, Chief, like, talk to me. Somebody talk to me. Help me. I've got a petition out there. I've got 1,000 signatures. I've got 500 online, 1,000 in hard copy to bring to the governor so that we can get a pass program started, satellited on Cape Cod, something similar, and then let's get it across the state. You shouldn't have to have all of us coming, driving to your station. It's not right. We shouldn't be having to have all the people on Cape Cod and elsewhere in the state driving to the pass office. That's the city of Boston. But that's what we're doing because our kids are dying. When you're on Cape Cod, you don't have anything. The one treatment program there has 2 beds for public health. And I volunteer for a homeless advocacy group myself. I've had to evict 4 people last winter because they were using heroin. And I begged them, I told them to come with me and I'll get them to pass. And they wouldn't do it. They said they'd go to, Gosnold. But that's a joke because they don't help. There's nothing there. They're private pay. That's who they're going for the money. So talk to me. Tell me, how can I do it? How can we get something? You had more of a position. I'm just a mother of a guy that's in recovery. I'm not really anybody with any clout. How do we change the people, the commonality of it, with the politicians or whatever, the desire and the will? I looked at the deputy commissioner and I said to her, what do you mean it's private? That's not how there's no providers down there. They're not bidding on it. Well, then why doesn't the state do it? Well, that's not our model. That's not our business model is what was told to me. And God love her. She's a lovely woman. I'm so grateful that she met with me and her spirit's in the right place and she's got a wonderful history, right? But our model is such that it's only for private. Meanwhile, we can have people dying on the street with no recourse. It's not right. So I need help, How do you do it?
Is, and first of all, I don't mean to overstep my boundaries in law enforcement. We don't, we've found all these barriers, and so I'm speaking about them as we found them, meaning, there's no sustainable care, there's no immediate care. So I think these connections we're making, law enforcement and of course the treatment centers that have been there a long time that are doing the right thing, interconnectedness and getting into more communities. There's a police department in every single community in Massachusetts. There's not a resource in every single community, but those 2 entities can talk to each other and try to create that infrastructure. And enough people start talking about it, which is where I think we are now. We're at critical mass, that you're going to see a tipping point, I hope. And that tipping point gets to immediate and sustainable care. The doctor is completely right. The Gloucester program at first, we had no idea what we were doing. We just wanted to bring you to the emergency room, which is the last place you want to be if you're an addicted person. But it morphed when we found out, look, we have to be responsible for the intake, then the CSS, TSS beds, then an outpatient program. This is a disease of remission. It goes on for the rest of your life. And so I think we're working towards that by making these connections and by really having a bigger voice. And the stigma campaign, as the doctor said, that the governor is working on, hopefully takes off more people become aware. The very sad reality is that more people are dying, and that's causing more people to become interested in this topic, and that is really, really sad, but that's the reality. And so hopefully we're at that stage where we are now ready as a community, as a Commonwealth, to say, no, here's where it's going to start to end. So I don't have any hard, fast answers from my viewpoint, but I think we're getting there.
Have you talked to the community health center that's nearest your area? And so part of what I do know is with the current administration, there are funds that are coming into community health centers to expand our capacity to do substance abuse treatment. So that may be an avenue to continue to work with your health center to try to pursue that. We're all invested in all really trying to step up the way in which we are providing treatment and services. And so there's funding that's coming and that has come already. So I would perhaps work with them. They also have the political ear in many ways to see what can happen. It may not be a PATH program, but it may be a program that develops out of the community health center that can provide better access and better resources than what you currently have.
All right, how are we doing on time here? All right, I think we have one more. We have a lot more.
Yeah. It's whoever gets-
Certified vocational rehabilitation counselor in the North Shore. And we have seen many families going through this. And when the economy declined, we saw so much increase. And I have done sort of a study trying to map where the highest rate is happening of kids that were dying. A lot of kids went to college, got a degree, came back, couldn't find work. They hooked into the drugs. Until we realize and we pay attention to what is happening, I think we have become a society of individualism, where we do not pay attention to the neighbors and what's happening around us. Texting, phone calls. We forgot to have a conversation and getting people together. We forgot to check on our neighbors and see what is happening. When you talk to this kids or this individual that are going through drugs abuse, they tell you that they feel lonely, that they feel rejected, that they feel that they are being left behind. And I think we are in a position at this point where we need to take responsibility, and it's everybody's responsibility to reach out to each other. I think I'm coming from a community, from a society where you check with people, and to me it was shocking that we don't have to deviate from the norm and privacy and regulations, and the teacher are not supposed to tell the parents because they're violating the privacy of the students. So I think there's a lot of work that we need to do. We need to allow kids to talk. We need to talk to the legislator and the school principal and everybody to say, if there's a kid in my class that's dealing with any issue, I will take responsibility to take it, and if that's a crime, then I will be arrested. Because we don't take that when we start talking about it, it's worse.
Great. I think that's it. I want to thank everybody again, Dr. Chief, audience, the Institute. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.